What's going on, guys? This is Adam, the CEO and founder of Uprise Real Estate Partners. And yes, we are at it again with another great interview. I'm so excited for what we have in store today. So if you're just joining us for the first time or it's been a while, the answer to this question is to the question of why do we do these interviews, okay? The world is crazy right now. We got COVID-19 going on. We got the economy having ups and downs. We have racial issues going on. And so it's more important than ever that we are all operating out of wisdom, right? Not out of our feelings, not out of our emotions, but making sure that we're doing the things to prepare ourselves for tomorrow, for today, for next week. Like, what is going on, right? Tons and tons of people found themselves out of jobs, out of income when the world pretty much had to shut down, right? And there were some, you guys have heard it, right? The haves and the haves not. There's some people that were living lovely, enjoying the vacation. There were other people that are figuring out how they were going to put food on the table, pay their rent, pay their mortgage, make their car payments, deal with the debt that they have. There are those who are wondering if they were still going to have jobs happening. And so as you guys know, we're in real estate, right? So we do a lot of educating and servicing the real estate world. And so we had some investor clients that were saying, hey, I'm ready to flip a home. I'm ready to buy a rental property. And as soon as COVID hit and the restrictions happened, they were like, nope, I'm out. And then we had other investors who were saying, hey, I've in a sense, kind of prepare for something like this. I want to take advantage of some great opportunities. Let's push forward. Let's keep going. And so it's our goal over here at Uprise that we make sure that you guys know what's going on, that you know your options. That's how we service you on a client level, and that's how we want to, serve the communities. Make sure at any given time that you understand your options and you understand that with wisdom, you can make the best decisions for you and your family, no matter who you are, what class you are, what color you are, no matter what's going on. That's what we're here for. And so today's topic is going to be around the areas of finances, guys. Let's keep it real. Every time you look on the news, every decision the president of the government makes, everything has to do with the economy and finances, right? And so I read the other day, some people are getting upset on social media and Facebook that they're saying, oh, the top, 600 billionaires their net worth has increased over 400 billion during these years. During these last 2 months. And you have to understand, it's because they just know, right? Like you hear the saying, the rich get richer, right? Like they just knew. Like there's reports that the government and certain CEOs of corporations knew about not only the coronavirus, but knew the effects it was going to have on our economy back in January. And if you guys have been paying attention to our weekly update videos, I've mentioned to you how while CEOs would come to the forefront and tell people, hey, everything's good, we'll have a V-shaped recovery, as soon as restrictions are lifted, we're going to, economy's going to come right back. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, they're, selling high and then they're buying low in the stock market, right? They're making moves behind the scenes. They're doing layoffs so they can acquire other companies. Like they're making moves for what? To put themselves in a better position, currently, right? They're already in a better position and continues to move forward. And so this episode is strictly to speak to you and your family, right? Not corporation, not corporate America, right? Not Wall Street, but your street. To speak to you about how you can also put your family and yourself in a better situation than maybe even before COVID. Forget during COVID, but even before COVID, right? And so the guest I have today is a great friend. And I'm so excited because I found out that he actually started a new movement, a new company. And so I said, hey, we got to get together. And so help me welcome Aaron. So Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. I appreciate this.
For sure. So first of all, I know you're a lovely supporter of us on our social media platforms. So thank you for following us. But Aaron, why don't we start off with this? Why don't you just kind of give us a brief intro to who you are? And who you are, and why do you think I called you to speak with us today?
So my name is Aaron McCone, and again, Adam, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for putting this series together, not just this session, but all the ones that you've done and the ones you have set for the future. It's obvious that you care about our community, and what you're doing to Uprise is really awesome. And so I just wanted to tell you that right here on the record. Thank you for doing that. My name is Aaron McCone, and basically, my financial journey of wisdom started in 2005 when my wife and I got married. So that was 15 years ago.
Congrats.
And we had a really great friend and a pastor of ours hand us this book called Financial Peace, written by this guy named Dave Ramsey, who we had never heard of. We didn't know anything.
That's a bestseller. That's a bestseller.
It is. And at the time, we were like, I don't know what this is, but we'll read this. It was kind of part of our premarital counseling. It was like, hey, you need to read this book. And so we read it. And if you're not familiar with Dave Ramsey, his kind of thing is all about getting rid of debt, not living a life where you're just completely buried in debt, whether it's, credit card debt, auto loan debt, student loans, things like that, realizing that debt is actually detrimental to your financial life. And the rest of, money touches every area of your life. So my wife and I read that book back in 2005. And of course, all those thoughts were completely new to us. We were like, oh, I didn't know. Of course, we had a credit card debt. We had, car loans, we had student loans. And
so you were at one point like everybody else.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And we would have stayed like everybody else because we thought that was normal. And we thought we were doing pretty good. And so we read that book and we were like, you can actually live without debt, like at all. I never knew anybody who did that. I didn't even know that was possible. But my wife and I decided, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's just see what happens. Maybe this could happen. Maybe it couldn't, let's just try it. And we spent 3.5 years basically getting out of debt. It was not easy, but we spent 3.5 years taking every penny that we had and paid off all of our credit cards. We eventually paid off both of our car loans, and eventually we paid off our student loans. Those student loans like to hang around forever. But we eventually paid off everything. And it was a hard 3.5 years, but we learned that, number one, it was possible. Like we didn't think this was, we didn't think anybody who lived without debt. And so we learned that it was possible to live without debt. And this really cool thing happened is as soon as we didn't have debt, it's like we got a raise because all of a sudden we had all this, the same money coming in our paycheck, but none of it was going out the door. And it's like we had all this money to do something with. And we're like, well, what do we do with this now? And so, I was putting money away in my 401k at work and we were investing it. We were putting money in Roth IRAs for me and her. And we bought our first house. And we decided with that house that we were going to pay that thing off as fast as possible. And we ended up paying off our house in 7 years.
Hold on. You paid off your house in 7 years?
We paid off our house in 7 years.
Guys, I told you I had the right man for us to speak to today. Okay, my bad, Aaron. Keep on.
No. And so, and it was the same thing. We kind of hustled for those 7 years to pay off our house as fast as possible. And then the same thing. So now, we're living in a paid off house, which I'm sitting in right now, in quarantine, like all of us are. And then we don't have a mortgage payment anymore. And so we're in the same boat again. We paid off our house in 2015 and we're like, well, what do we do with all this extra money? Wow. Well, it's right back into the stock market. We're going to invest it. And we're going to put more in the 401k and Roth IRAs. And we're just going to invest it. We opened up a brokerage account. So we had, taxable money that we could access, anytime, regardless of being age 59 and a half and all that stuff. And actually last year at age 40, I retired from my job and I am done working now. And that's what actually prompted me to start what I'm doing now, which is my blog, Live Your Way.
Hold on. Okay, we got to stop. We can't. Okay. We got to slow down, please. How old are you?
I am 41 now.
And who are you working for?
Nobody.
Hey. Let me just stand up. No.
Oh, yeah.
Props. That I know that wasn't easy. I know that had to have included many, many sacrifices, but man, you can enjoy the fruit of your labor now. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's incredible. And when my wife and I started out, when we got married, just kind of a pipe dream without any plan at all, we said, it would be fantastic one day to retire early. And we threw out a number just randomly of 55. They said, by the time we're 55, we want to be done working. And through like a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work and saying no to ourselves quite a bit over the last 15 years, here I am at 41 years old and we're done. My wife has been a stay-at-home mom for the last 10 years. We've got 4 kids. And so now I'm essentially a stay-at-home dad.
So for people that have the excuses, let's speak to the men for a second. For the guys that say, oh, my wife doesn't want to work, I can't get out of debt. You squash that excuse.
I squashed that excuse, but I also recognized that my wife and I, we were partners in this the
There you
whole
go.
time,
There
the
you go.
whole time.
There you go.
And so we knew, in fact, one of the big things that I talk about on my blog and I share with other people is when we bought our house, at that time, we had no kids. So this house I'm sitting in right now, we had no kids and we were both working. My wife was an elementary school teacher and I do web design or did web design. Um, and we knew that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom at some point. And we didn't know when we were going to have kids, but when we bought our house, we knew she was going to quit her job and that income was going away. So when we bought our house, we
Right.
sat down and we figured out, okay, how much mortgage can we afford on my income
Right.
without destroying us, without setting us up for failure? How much can we live on, or how can we spend on a mortgage with my paycheck alone? We didn't factor her paycheck in at all. And of course, the mortgage companies out there, I mean, they were giving us mortgages, left and right. Of course, this was, you got to remember, this was at the beginning of 2008. This is before things imploded. We bought
Oh, so they're
about,
trying to give you $1 million.
oh yeah. If we asked the mortgage company how much we could afford, they were just throwing money at us like, oh, no big deal. And we actually looked at the numbers and we were like, well, yeah, if we like don't eat and don't do anything else, we can afford this, but this is crazy. So we took kind of the non-traditional step of saying, you know what, we're going to actually get a mortgage for a lot less than what the companies are telling us we can afford. And we're not going to include my wife's income at all. We're just going to get a mortgage we can afford on my income. So when we did have our first son in 2010, my wife quit her job as a teacher and she has not gone back to work since. So we've been a single income family. My wife's been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 years, but we very much have been in this together. Yeah. We have been working this plan together. So it wasn't just me going out there and hustling. It wasn't just my wife staying at home with the kids hustling. Like I said, we got 4 kids now. It's not like she's been sitting around watching TV.
Yeah, and it's like I tell people, it's like to accomplish big goals. Like even if you look on TV or you see someone, you're like, oh, they're successful and they've done it by themselves. First of all, no, there were some people in that person's life, whether they be mentor, peers, or otherwise, that have helped that person get to where they've gone to. Right? Obviously, they had the drive and the motivation, the inspiration, but they had help along the way. And then for a team to accomplish something great, whether it's sports championships, whether it's business companies, whether it's a family and marriage, you have to be on the same page. You may have your moments, you may have whatever, but you have to both be in with that vision for you guys to accomplish, especially in a marriage, to achieve what you guys have achieved by your age of in your early 40s. You had to have been operating as a team, because if one person's not, then 2 things are going to happen. Either the vision's not going to come to reality, or you get divorced. One of the 2 is going to happen.
Right. Exactly.
And so that's awesome, man. So no, that's a great package. So I'm gonna ask you a series of questions and we'll get into it. But one thing I want to, and you and I talked a little bit about this before the interview, is stats work, because once we got into COVID and the restrictions were happening and you saw the record unemployment numbers every single week, people started looking at stats and saying, okay, are people prepared to not get a check for 2 weeks, not get a check for a month, right? And here were some of the stats, and it was so sad. Some of the stats said that 70% of Americans had less than $1,000 in their bank account. Okay. It said 78% of Americans were currently living paycheck to paycheck before COVID. 78%. Yep. And my thing is, even if that number has decreased, even to this point, because you got stimulus checks, and some people are back to work and things of that nature. Whatever it is, if it ain't 78, it's still high as hell.
Right? Absolutely.
And so my question for you is, and you kind of already answered this, but one, do you fall into those statistics? And then 2, if not, where are you? Where do you rank in that in those stats? Where do you and your family rank in terms of how you guys have been and withstood with everything that's going on, right?
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things early on. Again, when we were focusing on getting out of debt, we had a little bit of cash set aside. I'd say probably about $2,000 set aside in our savings account that was kind of catch our slack if something happened. But we didn't have a whole lot of money set aside. But once we spent that 3 years getting out of debt. Once we got out of debt, we had all this money to do something with, and we didn't just automatically take all that money and say, well, let's go dump it in the stock market and go get rich. We said, first of all, we're going to go set some money aside because, we never know what tomorrow's going to bring. I didn't know if I was going to have a job the next day or the next month. I felt secure, but you never know. And so we set aside about $20,000. I mean, we just started
Wow.
saving up. And so we had about $20,000 set aside that was our rainy day fund. That was our
Yeah.
emergency fund.
Yeah.
And we used that money quite a bit over the last 15 years.
Yeah. Now, were you tempted to cut it short and do something else with that money, like invest?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially, I mean, if you just think about, hindsight being 2020, you look at over the past, 10 years from 2010 to 2020, and you look at what the stock market was doing. There was all sorts of temptation to say, hey, look, everybody's, doing this and everybody's doing that. And what shouldn't we be doing that? It looks like it's awesome. And we had to sit down and go, no, that's not the game plan.
Right.
The game plan is
hold on. Say it one more time. That's not the what?
That's not the game plan.
That's not the game plan. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you don't have a game plan, then any new idea, any hot new thing that comes along, it's going to look great. Everything looks great in the moment.
Aaron, breathe.
But you have to recognize that there are certain steps you have to take to set yourself up, build a foundation so that as you're building wealth, as you're actually gaining that financial stability, that some event doesn't come along and just completely blow you out of the water.
Right. Let me stop you there. Guys, okay, at Uprise, a lot of investors will come to us and they say, hey, we want to invest. If you see a good deal, let us know. We said, we ain't saying you nothing. They said, what do you mean? Every other realtor, every other person tells me they'll send me something. Yeah, we ain't doing that. Why? Because we've been around the block long enough to know that just wastes your damn time. Okay? You get a whole bunch of emails that aren't even deals. You get a whole bunch of emails from things that even if they're deals, they may not be the right deal for you. Right? And so when we meet with investors, sellers, and buyers, we tell them all the most important thing is not your actual property, is not your actual money or whatever. It's the collection of things to figure out what is your strategy and what is your game plan to reach a certain goal. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what you said. You have to know, you have to have a vision first. You have to know where you want to go. You guys had that vision. We want to be debt free, right? We want to retire early by the age of 55, I think you said. Yeah. But you guys had a vision. Then you said, what is our strategy and what's our game plan? What's our strategy? Okay, well, let's go get some wisdom. Let's go get some strategy. You guys followed your mentor, Dave Ramsey. So that was your strategy. Then you said, okay, we're going to implement his strategy for us. Then you said, okay, what's our realistic game plan to apply the strategy to our personal lives? What's the game plan? And as a team, what's the game plan that we're going to execute on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis? And what I love about what you said was there's always going to be temptation. There's always going to be the temptation of whether you're looking to buy a rental property and you say, oh man, I just got this email, this great looking flip, it's historical home and the rehab's $100,000, but the potential profit is $100,000. Okay, hold up. Have you done a rehab that big before? Okay, is that in alignment with your goal? Your goal is to have 10 rental properties by the age of whatever, right? Your game plan is to get one rental property a year. That is not in your game, but it's tempting. It's that, well, if I make that $100,000, I could buy all 10 right now, right? It's that temptation, right? But what I've seen from my wealthiest clients, to my clients that are on their way there, to us that are on our way there, and to people who are starting out, when we sit down for a second and we say, what's the vision? What's the strategy? What's the game plan? And we stick to the game plan. Those are the groups of people that at the end reach their goals. And 9 times out of 10, Aaron, just like you, they reach it faster than what they expected if they follow the game plan. But Aaron, I see so many people who, just being honest, they either want to go the fast track, they don't work with us, or they don't, we're not in alignment, so we're not in a fit to work with them. They go for the, just be honest, the fast track or the get rich quick or the, whatever. They don't stick to the fundamentals. They don't establish their foundation. They don't stick to the game plan. They're just kind of all over the place. Mm-hmm. And while, like you said, while things may look good for a year or two, oh, I got this much in the stock market. Oh, I'm getting this much return. When something happens, when there's a correction in the stock market, when COVID comes, when there's a recession, when they have a job loss, all those losses don't mean squat.
Yep.
Why don't you speak about that?
Well, and one of the things that we learned early on that has helped us in many areas of our life, beyond just money, is that concept that slow and steady wins the race. Slow and steady. And a lot of people aren't willing to put that in. I mean, and I get it. In our society, in our culture, everybody wants to be debt free in 3 months, and they want to be a millionaire in 3 years. And if it's going to take longer than that, they don't have the stamina, the focus, the energy to say, you know what, but if I make good choices today, and I make good choices tomorrow, and I make good choices next week and next month and next year, if I stack all those up on top
Yeah.
of each other,
Good.
then you know what, over 5 years, 10 years, in my case 15 years, I'm going to be in a position that I never thought was possible. And going back to us, our debt payoff plan, it took 3.5 years, and that wasn't fun. I'll just be honest with you.
Hey,
Getting out of debt, not fun at all.
just so you know, Aaron, here, and people know this, we are transparent and we keep it real. We talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. So feel free, go ahead.
Yeah. So getting out of debt, not sexy. Driving old cars, not sexy. Not going out to eat with all our friends all the time, not sexy. People, I joke that people often probably thought we were broke or poor, which we were, because we were paying off all that debt. We weren't broke. We were poor. But we weren't living like everybody else, and everybody else is going, hey, well, we're just fine. We're going out to eat. We're driving these fancy cars. We're doing all this stuff. What's wrong with Aaron and Val?
You looked broke, but were y'all paycheck to paycheck?
No, not at all.
No, guys, they looked broke, but they weren't broke.
Yep.
They looked like they were paycheck to paycheck, but they weren't paycheck to paycheck. Guys, we will see, and you can talk to bankers, you can talk to mortgage loan officers, you can talk to realtors. We will see people that got the nice fancy clothes, nice fancy cars, even got the nice house. But Aaron, they are paycheck to paycheck. They're going to every birthday dinner, getting everybody 2-3 gifts, but they are paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing with us. It's knowing that we looked poor, we looked broke, and we had to get comfortable with that. That was awkward. That was weird. We didn't like that at all. But we knew that we were making good choices. We were setting ourselves up for financial success. And so we had to deal with just not looking like everybody else, not doing the things that everybody else is doing. There's a great quote that I love, and I don't know who said it. I don't know who to attribute it to, but it says, when the tide goes out, you'll find out who's swimming naked.
Warren
Buffett.
Is
that Warren Buffett? Okay.
Yeah.
And I love that, because when the tide is in, everybody looks like it, it's all fine. Everything's great. Nothing going on. But when the tide goes out, when some event comes along and you've got to live for 2 months without a paycheck, or 3 months or 5 months without a paycheck, people are going to find out who is set themselves up to withstand the storm and who has just been treading water and they're done. They can't make it. And what I want to do is help people get comfortable being weird, get comfortable making choices that people around them aren't making, so that when these storms come, I don't think anybody predicted COVID-19. Nobody saw a global pandemic coming. Right. Some of it saw it earlier than others, but nobody looked and said, you know what's going to hurt our economy? Some global pandemic. Nobody saw that. It caught everybody off guard. Some people were already set up to handle it, and some people weren't. And I want to make sure people are set up to handle whatever the next thing is, because there's going to be a next thing. I hope it's not anytime soon. I don't want it to be again anytime soon.
I don't want to get too. Well, you guys know me. We get specific sometimes. And what I said on the previous video was, guys, what are you putting your faith in? Are you putting your faith in the government? Are you putting your faith in the economy? Right? What are you putting your faith in? For me and my family, we put our faith in God. What I told people was, guys, like when COVID was starting, I said, this is not something new. There's always been plagues. There's always been epidemics in the history of the world. There's always been financial and economic collapses, right? And so what pieces of wisdom are we looking backwards, right? What pieces of wisdom are we seeking at this time to say, how should I be operating? What kind of decisions should I be making during this time? And so I'm so happy that you said that. Is we don't have to act like, oh my God, we never saw this coming. Guys, in our parents' lives, in our grandparents' parents' lives, and great, whatever, there's always been wars. There's always been some type of epidemic, and there's always been some type of financial collapse in every single one. So there's always been bad times, but for as many bad times as there's also always been good times. So thank you for saying
Yeah.
that.
And none of us can see the future. So we know there's going to be bad times. We know there's going to be good times. We have no idea when it's going to be one or the other. And so we've got to set ourselves up to know that, hey, good times are going to come. We want to be able to take that opportunity and take advantage of that. And bad times are going to come. We want to make sure we're set up and we're on a solid foundation so it doesn't just completely wipe us out. One of the posts I have on my blog is called Wealth is Invisible. And I put that out there because we so often look around, I mean, we can't help it. We look around at our culture,
Yeah.
either, at work or, in our communities and worse on TV. And, I can see the shirt that you're wearing. I may see the car you're driving. I may see the house that you live in or the neighborhood that you live in. I can see the shoes you've got. I can see things about you, but none of those things tell me how wealthy you are. The car you drive doesn't tell me how much money you have in your bank account. The house you live in or the neighborhood you live in
That's so good.
doesn't tell me how much you have in your 401k or how much you have invested in the market. And so we look around and we see material things and we think that that's an indicator of wealth, and it's not. It's not at all.
Hey, you know what it can be an indicator of though?
Debt.
Oh, you got that big house? Okay, you probably got a $500,000 mortgage. Oh, you got them cars? Okay, you probably got a $100,000 mortgage. Now, I hope you paid cash for it, right? I hope you did that. And if you did that, that's awesome. But 9 times out of 10, you probably got a big debt associated with that. So yeah,
right.
Good point.
And again, debt is driven off the fact that we assume that our life today is going to be the same tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. We're going to have the same job. We're going to have the same paycheck, or we assume we're going to have a better job. I'm going to have a better paycheck. Things are just going to get better. And we know that that's not how the world works. We know that there are times we have to prepare where our paycheck might go down. We might have to take another job that we don't like as much. We may get a pay cut. We may lose our job. Those are real things that we have to prepare for. And we don't know when that's going to happen. We don't know.
So I want to drive this home because, guys, you guys know our mission statement, right? Our mission statement is we are building a legacy. We want to build a legacy of transformation through love and honor, right? To help improve people's financial, spiritual, and personal lives, right? A legacy, transformation, meaning here's something today, forget it tomorrow. That's not what we're about, right? True change, true transformation. This is not motivation. It's really not even inspiration. It's really to sow seeds in your mind, in your spirit, in your soul, right? And hoping that over time you water, you nurture these seeds that we're giving you guys to grow into an orchid, right? That you can be like Aaron, that you can eat off of later on because of what you sowed and what you nourished years ago. And so, Aaron, let's get a little bit more into the psychology, because right now people will be like, oh yeah, I want to get out of debt. Why? Because you can't pay your bills. You're motivated, right? Oh yeah, I want to get a smaller house. Let me sell this house and downsize and get a house, a smaller house. Why? Because your wife lost her job, right? So while that's great, and while you may be wanting to make decisions because out of motivation, let's get past motivation, because if your wife gets a job 3 months from now, are you still going to make that decision, or are you going to say, oh no, we're good now? Let's just keep the house or get a bigger house, right? And so, Aaron, you didn't know, when did y'all start trying to get debt free?
2005.
Okay, you didn't think that there's an epidemic during that time. You didn't know a recession was going to hit in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Nope.
So what was y'all's why? Like what was driving you to look like fools, to look poor, to look broke? What was your whys to maintain your game plan and your strategy when everybody else was putting money in the stock market, buying houses, getting bigger houses, putting their kids in what was y'all's why to keep going when things look good?
For us, it has always been generosity. We have wanted to be philanthropists our whole lives. And in our marriage, that was a huge thing for us. We wanted to be able to have money to give away. We just want to give money away and bless people. And we realized that if we're broke, that's not going to go so well. And so when we decided we're getting out of debt, it's because we knew we wanted to have money that we could just give away, that we didn't need. And the more debt that we had, the more we needed the money. I need that because I got to pay my bills. So we get rid of our bills. We've got more money that we can give away. And on this entire journey, we've given away money every single year. And that's the most fun that we've ever had with money. The most exciting thing that we ever do with money is just giving it away. Or someone comes and they have a need, and we are able to say, you know what, we can meet that need. We're in a position where we can do that. We love that. That's the most exciting thing we do with money, is giving it away. And we recognize that we can't do that if we're desperately just trying to tread water every month and pay our bills every month. That's never going to happen. And so our why was much bigger than, this month or this year. It was eventually we want to get to the point where we can retire early. Part of that was we want to give of our time. We want to be able to spend more time with our family and our kids, and go spend more time with other people, go engage with other people. And we recognize that, working a 9-to-5 job, that's a huge portion of our lives, that where it's kind of dictated where we invest our time. There's nothing wrong with a 9-to-5 job. That works out great. And you invest your time there, but you don't really have the option to choose where to invest your time elsewhere. And so for us, retiring early was the idea of, now we have ownership of our money and ownership of our time, and we can go invest wherever God leads us, wherever the need is that we see, where someone is hurting, someone needs help, and we can go there because we have the available time and the available money to go engage in that. So that was our why.
Guys, so Aaron and his family did not look broke or withstand the temptation, right, to go buy things, or withstand the whispers and the conversations, right, from friends and family those years they were working on getting out of debt, just because they want to have a little money in the bank, just because out of fear in case one of them lost their job. They had a purpose, they had a vision, they had a why. There's a great speaker, author, book, Starts With Why, Simon Sinek, and he talks about that what makes the best companies are at their core, their why, and then how they do things comes out of their why, and what they do comes out of their how and out of their why. And so, guys, if you're just saying, fly by night, like, oh, let's, it'd be a good idea to get out of debt. Oh, yeah, it'd be a good idea to, retire before I'm 70, 80, 90. Since our government wants to raise it every year. You just want to say it, just casually. Okay, good luck with that, right? But if you say, you know what, this is inspiring to me. I have the same itch. I have the same desire. I feel like I have the same passion. Then before you take any action, you got to create a vision for yourself, right? You got to create a vision for yourself. And you may say, okay, I see the vision. I'm willing to work and fight for that vision. If you don't fully see that vision, you got to build it. And how do you build it? Talk to people. You build it by watching things like this. You build it by checking out people like Dave Ramsey. You do it by checking out this company we're going to talk about in a little bit that Aaron has. You do it by surrounding yourself and getting in conversations and hearing other people's visions and hearing what other people have done and hearing what other people have access to and have achieved. And then you start saying, okay, I could do that. I could do that. I could do it. You start building up your belief and your faith. And then one day you just say, I'm going to believe. And out of my belief, it's going to change how I think. And out of my new thinking, my new pattern and ways of thinking is going to change my habits. And now it's about, accountability. What's the game plan to make sure you stay on track, things of that nature. So do not let this be something you say today and then next month, you're just going the complete opposite way, right? So that's great, Aaron. So let's talk about restrictions are loosening up, right? In our state. We're here in Texas and across the United States. And so why don't just share with us what's been the experience of your family personally, financially during this time? Have things been smooth sailing? Have you guys been worried? Have you guys been overtaken with fear? And as things start to open up again, just talk about our experience. Has anything changed for you? Just talk about that.
So honestly, our experience has been really good. And as you can imagine, I'm not dependent on a job. So, people are losing their jobs and it's hard to see that. But that hasn't affected us because we don't have a job. We have, going back to earlier, you were talking about, people living paycheck to paycheck and, 78% of people not having $1,000 in the bank. We've got about 3 years of living expenses just in the bank, just sit there. And for exactly a case like this, where we don't want to touch our investments right now. Like, we want to let those ride. So we've got money in the bank that is supporting us, so we can feed our family. We can take care of all of our needs. And again, I'm home full time. My wife is home full time. Our kids came home from school full time, whether we weren't planning on that. So for us, it honestly, it's kind of like summer just started early. Like, we literally had spring break, and we went and had some fun. And then it's just been, it's like, well, now it's summertime, and the kids were still doing some schoolwork. You know, our oldest is 10. We have a 9-year-old, and then we have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old who aren't in school yet. But we kind of did some homeschool stuff with them, but for the most part, we were just here hanging out, riding bikes out front. We couldn't really go anywhere. So that's the biggest change for us, has been, everything shut down. Right. So there was no going out to eat. There was no doing stuff like that. A lot of the places that we would like to go when they shut down the parks, like, we love going to state parks and stuff like that. So when all that shut down, spring break, where we would go out and explore and do fun stuff, turned into like, hey, it's summertime, but stay at home. Right. And being home with 4 kids, it can be a lot. Yeah. But honestly, I can't complain. I can't complain at all. Everything that we've done up to this point has set ourselves up to be prepared for something like this. And so has it affected us? It has, but in a negative way? I mean, not really. I can't say that, our life is hard or horrible or bad in any sort of way. I honestly can't. And that's, we kind of set it up for that.
Yeah. So guys, you have to decide what you want, right? When you start thinking about your vision, when you start thinking about the action items you're going to take, the way, the change in your thinking that you want to have happen, you have to start thinking about what you want, right? And if what Aaron's describing to you, right, if what me and my wife ascribe to as well, if that's not what you want, where there's a famous saying that says, be of the world, be in the world, but not of the world, right? So if you rather see that there's so much financial turmoil going on in the economy, but your whole household is sound financially, if you want that, then you may need to change your thinking, right? You may need to change your vision. You may need to change your strategy and change your game plan, right? But if you don't want that, you may not want that. You may want, before Aaron would say you're ready, you may want the huge house and the fancy cars and the nice clothes and eating out and all the debt. But as long as everybody knows you're living large, like I said, you may want that, right? But then you have to understand, what are the pros and cons to that? The pros are, for a period of time, you look great to the outside, right? But are you and your wife fighting about finances? Or do you guys have any security? Any sense of security when you lay your pillow at night, that if you don't go to work for the next month, that if you don't get that sale next week, that you're still going to be okay, right? If someone, like I said, whether something bad happens or nothing bad happens, right? Like, is your foundation sound where if the storms of life come by, that you're still going to be standing strong, right? I can't tell you what you want. Aaron can't tell you what you want. You have to be honest. And I'm here to say this: if you know you don't give a damn about paying off debt, being debt free, being sound financially, retiring early, then don't listen to anything we're saying. This is not for you, right? But I hope that if you ever got to the point where you reconsider that decision, that you remember the things that we're talking about today, right? Yeah. So Aaron, let's see. So, tell us about first of all, you went from having a vision to executing that vision to now. You mentioned the being able to give. You guys aren't just giving financially now. You now created a form or a company or organization to now give to people. Why don't you kind of tell us a little about what you started and what you're creating?
Yeah, so my website is liveyourwage.com. And essentially it started as I was telling parts of our story to people over and over and over again. I was having conversations and I was sharing bits of our story over and over again. And sometimes it was through email, sometimes in person, but sometimes just through emails. I would tell people like, hey, here's what we did and here's how this worked. And I was doing it over and over again. That eventually I created kind of these email templates of like, hey, here's this bit of our story. Here's this bit of our story. And so whenever those conversations came up and people started asking us about, money and finances, I would be able to go back. I wouldn't have to retype everything all over again. And eventually I was like, you know what, if I just had these on, a website, like a blog or something, and I could just share bits of our story, then I could just link to those things and share that out with friends, family, coworkers, people who ask us questions. And so that's when I started the website, which was probably back in 2017. And I just put up probably 7 or 8 blog posts of just bits of our story. And I would link to those and I would share those out with people. And then as I was, kind of getting to this point where we were going to retire and I was going to have this free time, one of the things that, I've always had a passion for is helping people figure out how to accomplish what we've been able to accomplish. How do people build that financial stability? How do people pay off debt? How do people set up a budget so they can actually manage their money well, week after week, month after month?
Oh, you said the B word, Aaron. You said the B word. Okay.
I said it. And we do the budget, and that's one of the secrets to our financial success is we did a budget and we manage our money. We told every dollar exactly where it needed to go, so that none of it, just disappeared into frivolous nonsense. But helping other people do that, doing a budget is a skill. It's not something people are born knowing how to do. And so helping people figure that out, that was something I was really passionate about. And so I decided that I would take this Live Your Wage blog that I had and actually turn it into something where I could actually reach a larger audience, put more of our story out there, help people, basically open myself up and say, hey, if you want to contact me, if you want to, talk about any of your financial stuff, if you want help setting up a budget, if you want help, figuring out how to invest, I'll be here to help you do that, based on, just the knowledge of what I've done and the things that I've been able to accomplish in my past. And so I just wanted a platform to open that up to people to say, hey, I'm not like, hey, we accomplished it. We did it. I'm done. It's all about us. It's like, no, we accomplished it and we did it. And I want other people to know how we did it. I want to tell people the story of here's what we did. Here are the steps we took. And here's how this happened. And also help people come up with that game plan, because not everybody's game plan is going to look like ours. Our game plan didn't look exactly like Dave Ramsey. We just took bits and pieces of his stuff and realized, how does that fit into our lifestyle? How does that fit into what we're trying to accomplish? And just helping people put that game plan together. And one of the pieces of that I want to mention real quick, we talked earlier about kind of having that vision beyond just, today and tomorrow and next week. I have a tool on my website called the Vision Planner. Okay. And one thing that I realized talking to people for years is that many people struggle with money because they struggle to see the future beyond, this month or next month. And if you can get people to stop thinking about, okay, you're gonna have to take care of your bills this month and next month and the month after that. But if you get people thinking long-term, thinking, okay, 5 years from now, or ideally 10 years from now, which sounds like that's an insane amount of time. That's like way out there. And you actually have them write that, so right now in 2020, I would have on my vision planner, you have to write the year 2030 down on your vision planner. And that looks like some insane future date. But actually think about, what do you want your life to look like in 2030? How old are you going to be? How old are your kids going to be? Are they going to be in school still? Are they going to be gone? What do you want to be doing with your free time? Do you want to work in the job you're at now? Do you want a different job? Do you want to be in the same sector or be in a different sector? Actually write down what you want your life to look like in the year 2030. And if you can do that, and especially if spouses can do that, because they're going to have different visions of 10 years down the road, and they're going to have to reconcile those things. They're going to figure out.
They got to talk about it.
Yeah, they got to talk about it. Yeah. So for spouses, especially, it's sitting down and having those conversations about what does our future look like, and what you can share that future and say, okay, this is our vision, not for next month or next year, for 10 years from now. Then you can pull that back and say, okay, so how we're spending our money right now, is that moving us toward that goal, or is that moving us away from that goal? And you can start having real conversations about, what, maybe buying that car right now isn't the best option. Yep. And it's not because you don't want that car. It's not because that's not an awesome car. It probably is an awesome car. And maybe one day you'll get that car and that's not a big deal. But if buying that car right now takes you further from your goal, that's a choice you get to make. And you can say, you know what? I'm not that passionate about that goal. I'm just going to go ahead and buy what I want right now. I'm going to get it right now. And that's a choice. People can make that choice. Absolutely.
Be honest.
But yeah, be honest. And really for me, I just want people to be aware that every time you spend money, you're making a choice about your future. And most people don't think about it that way. They just think, hey, I spend money because I make it and I have it and I can do it and it's no big deal. And it's like, but you're making a choice about what your life's going to look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And I just want people to be aware of that. Now, they may still want to make the same choices, but as long as you make it with the awareness of what it's going to mean down the road, then I'm fine with that. That's cool. But hopefully that awareness of what things will look like down the road will help you start making choices today where you go, you know what, I'm willing to look poor right now because I know that I'm not going to be poor. And then in the future, I will actually be able to have financial security and this financial stability in my life, where when stuff like a global pandemic comes out of nowhere, I can go, you know what, it's okay. We're going to be fine. My family's going to be fine. My kids are going to be fine. That's what I want people to experience.
Yeah, no, it's so good the way you put that, and it applies to all areas of life, right, guys? That concept of understanding what you want, formulating that vision, and understanding, and then working backwards to say, okay, once you develop that strategy and game plan, and you start moving towards executing it, it's important to understand that the decisions that you make today, tomorrow, next week, next month dictate how you're doing, dictate, are you moving towards your vision or moving away from your vision, right? And there's always going to be things in life that have us go off a little bit, right? And probably to say the more accountability we have in our lives, whether it's just your spouse, whether it's some other things involved, the more you can kind of stay on track. But the most important thing is that you get back on track and you keep progressing towards your vision. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Sometimes we'll get someone who wants to invest, but they don't have the capital yet. And I'll say, okay, what's your vision? What's your goal? Right? We'll talk about that stuff. And I'll say, okay. I said, well, you don't have the capital yet. You need to go work. You need to go get a mentor. You need to go work for a company that does investments. Or you need to go work for someone for free, whatever. And some people look at me like, what do you mean work for free? I'm like, what's your vision? What decisions are you making today to help you reach this vision? This is the fastest. It's not quick, get rich quick tomorrow, but it's the simplest and fastest path for you to get here, get the experience you need, and to get there. So as you get the experience you need, now you have connections, now you have resources, now you have mentors, now you have a sounding board that can help you continue to progress in your journey to being an investor, as opposed to what? You're just going to go get some crazy loan from somebody, or you're going to go get a payday loan. You're going to go steal some money out of the cash register and go flip. What else are you doing? And anything else that you do is just going to take you way off track and not even get you where you want to go to. And so I'm using that as an example to say it does not matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter if you're a couple and you say, one of us wants to stay home. It doesn't matter if you say eventually I want to go back to school. If you want to say I want to be able to go to a third world country, do missionary work. It doesn't matter if you say I want to be financially free by 35, 45, 55, and like Aaron, do something else I'm passionate about. It doesn't matter if, you're like us and you say, I want to create companies and I don't want to be bound financially by what companies I create and how much I need to make in a certain period of time. And so, so whatever it is, guys, make sure that you formulate your vision. I don't even care if you're doing well. I don't even care if you're in that top 0.2% that, you've made billions of dollars. No, here we go, Aaron. Check this out. Even the billionaires are thinking 2030.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even the billionaires are thinking 2030. So if they're doing it, you might as well do it too.
Right. Absolutely. Right? Yeah, no, it's one of those things that maybe it's the technology, maybe so we're moving so fast that it's like thinking a week ahead or 2 weeks ahead or 2 months ahead, like that feels like a long way out there. And maybe it's the pandemic that we're in right now. Everything feels like everything's changing every 2 days, every 3 days. But it's one of those things that it's a skill set. It's a skill that you learn to say, you know what, I'm going to think about what I'm doing today within the context of what I want my life to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. It's not easy to do. And that's taking, like, I'm at the grocery store and I'm making a $4 purchase. And, I'm thinking about that $4 purchase in terms of what I want my life to look like in 2030. I mean, that's just that people don't do that. And it gets easier. I mean, it's a skill that once you learn, it's like, oh yeah, you start making decisions easier and easier because you look at that purchase and you go, I don't need that. Why am I spending that money on that? That's dumb. And you move on. But how do you know that that's dumb? Because you've made those decisions over and over. You've got that vision. You've got that framework of what you want your life to look like. And now you can start making those decisions a lot easier. It takes time. It takes practice, but it gets easier.
So let's get real for a second, guys. So some of you guys are saying, oh my goodness, yes, I want 3 months of reserves, just like Aaron's family. Some of you guys are saying, yes, I want to have my house paid off by the age of 40, okay? And one thing I want to make sure that we do not skip over, guys, it's not just the whispers. It's not just the way we look up to other people. There are sacrifices, right? There are sacrifices when you want to do something great in your life, right? When you want to make a great contribution to people, to your community, to the world, there are sacrifices that you're going to have to make. And so you can think of your favorite heroes, your favorite mentors, all of them. You may not know, but if you asked them a personal question, you say, hey, what sacrifices do you have to make to get to where you are? I'm telling you, you would be surprised and you would be shocked. But it's because they made those sacrifices and they were willing to pay the cost. They're now the boss, right? And so please take heart in what we're talking about today, what Aaron's saying today, is once you formulate your vision, once you formulate what it is that you want, look at it. Jesus said, look at it. Look at the building. Look at the plans for the building and count the cost and say, is it worth it? If your vision, if your why is not worth what you think you're going to have to sacrifice to get it, it ain't worth it. You ain't going to stick with it. You might as well throw it in the trash. I'm just being honest with you. Okay. Your vision and your why has to be worth you willing to sacrifice and pay the cost for it. So make sure that as you go to Aaron's website and you formulate that vision, you start thinking about 2030, as you start telling your spouse or whoever that, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. Make sure y'all have a decision on, are we willing to pay the cost to get the things that we want in the future? And if you are, then, hey, you're going to get there. You're going to get there. So Aaron, before we go, why don't you, what are some parting things that you either want to say to the people that are watching, or as we come out of this, I don't even say come out, right? Because who knows, right? But as we start lifting restrictions and things of that nature, and as we start going into the end of 2020 and into 2021, and we got, riots going on and protesting, and we got, racism peaking, the spirit of racism peeking its head up again. What are just some things you want to just share with the people, and just kind of things that you want people to be mindful of and be paying attention to?
Well, first and foremost, with everything going on in the world right now, it's a great reminder that money is not everything. Money is not the most important thing. Yeah. It never is, and it never should be. And if you ever find yourself thinking that money is the solution to any problem or all your problems, it's going to be a sad day when you actually get some money. Yep. And the world is still broken. So one, money isn't everything, but money is important. I have these conversations with people all the time because at the end of the day, we got to feed our families. At the end of the day, we got to keep a roof over our heads. And we want to make it as easy as possible for everybody to be able to do that and to not have to stress about that. And so one of the big takeaways or big pieces of advice that I give people is figure out how to save money. And that can be in small amounts, just as a skill. Saving money is a skill, and it's something that we're not born knowing how to save money. We're born knowing how to spend money, I think, but we're not born knowing how to save money. And so again, the skill of doing a budget, the skill of managing your money, so where every paycheck you get, you can save some money, even if it's in small amounts and it feels insignificant. Building that skill is huge.
Building that habit, huge. Right?
Exactly. Because the first $20 you save, the skill you use to do that is going to help you save your first $100. And the skill you use to do that is going to help you save your first $1,000. And the skill you use to do that is going to help you save your first $5,000. So just building that skill of learning how to save money is critical. It's huge because ultimately, we're living in right now, those who have money set aside and have saved money to help get them through this time where maybe they've lost their job or they've taken a pay cut or they're on furlough and they're waiting to go back to work at some point. Having saved money will change the entire landscape of your experience right now from a financial perspective. And so that's what the one thing I teach people, and I tell people over and over again, learn how to save money. And I can teach you how to do that. I can teach you how to do a budget. I can teach you how to figure out how to live on less than you make. That's, on my website, it's liveyourwage.com. And I say, spend less than you make and give more than you take. And if you can do those things, you will be set. You will be successful. And so learn how to save money, because times like these are going to come again. Eventually this is going to be over. We're going to slowly ease into whatever the new normal looks like, which honestly, I don't know if any of us know what the new normal is going to look like after this. But things will get better. Things will improve. from the pandemic perspective. Uh, but don't forget, because we have short memories. Things are going to get back to some level of normalcy, and people
Yep.
are going to be like, "Oh, now everything's okay, and now I can go back to doing things the way I was doing them before." And it's like, no, no, no. We got to remember, hopefully nothing like this, but something is going to come along. And as much as we look at the unemployment numbers and people who are losing their jobs from this, um, like you said earlier, this is not new.
Right.
Before the pandemic, people were losing their jobs all the time. That's something that happens to people. That's a reality that people face on a regular basis, regardless of COVID, regardless of what's going on right now. And so we all have to recognize that those unfortunate events can happen, and we need to be set up and prepared for them. And if we can save money, set some money aside, we'll be in a great place to do that.
No, that's awesome, Aaron. And like you said, you know, um, it's so important for people to understand that the lessons that they learned, right, during this time. It's one thing, whatever mistake, your sins are forgiven, right? Whatever
Right.
mistake you made back then, whatever you didn't say, whatever, however careless, you were back then, it is what it is, right? And yes, you
Right.
still have to deal with it, but you, if you want to, you can start making new decisions. You can have a new mindset that, like Aaron said, whether it's $5, whether it's $10, whether it's percentage based, in terms of how much money you make, start moving forward. I don't even care if you're on unemployment. Start saying, this how much came in. We're only living on this much. The other amount is going towards X, right? And start. One of my mentors, very, very wealthy individual, he said, if you cannot figure out how to live below, if you cannot figure out how to live below what you make, right? And sow the rest, and have something to sow, have something for the future, right? Whether it's saving or investing or whatever the case may be, you will never be wealthy. Even
Yep.
if you, and I say this time and time again, and some people may not like this, but if you're just rich, shoot, you can run through that with a crack addiction in the summertime. Like you can go through money real quick, right?
Yep.
But wealth, like Aaron said, you may not be able to see it by your truck, you may not be able to see it with your clothes, but true wealth will last as long as you continue to make great decisions. So, Aaron, thank you so much for being with us today. How can, for anyone that wants to, again, I know you mentioned it earlier, but let's go ahead and repeat. Anyone that wants to reach out to you just for, advice, some connection, helping them, like you mentioned, budgeting, or also helping them set a vision for 2030. How can they reach out to you? Where are you at?
So definitely on my website, liveyourwage.com. You can definitely get in contact with me on there. There's a contact tab. But I'm on social media, on Twitter, I'm at Live Your Wage. I'm on Facebook, Live Your Wage on there. On Instagram, I'm on there as at Live Your Wage. So just go to at Live Your Wage on any of the social media channels. You can get in contact with me there. I'd love to hear from you. And actually, I would love to plug two other awesome money blogs
Okay.
that I really enjoy, and I definitely want you to check out. The first one is called richandregular.com. And this is a couple, Julian and Kirsten. They're a married couple, and their story is pretty incredible as well, what they've been able to accomplish. So richandregular.com, if you get a chance, go check them out. They are doing some awesome stuff. And then the other one is paychecksandbalances.com. And that is Rich and Marcus. They're two guys who have gotten their, each individually got their financial act together, and they learned pretty young. These are pretty young guys who are really showing people how to live the right way with their money. So Paychecks and Balances, and they actually have a podcast as well. So if you're a podcast listener like I am, just go to your favorite podcast app and search for Paychecks and Balances, and they'll come up. They do a great job of breaking things down and sharing not only their stories, but strategies, not just for money, but also for work and life. So paychecksandbalances.com. Go check them out as well. And then if you want to get in contact with me, I'm at liveyourwage.com. And Adam, thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, guys. So there you go. So you heard from the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron. Yes, he's only 40. Yes, he has a family. Yes, he has 4 kids. And yes, his house is paid off and he's debt-free and he's living his best life now. But he did not get there because he was overnight success. He had a vision. As a leader of his family, he set the vision. The family bought into the vision. They sacrificed. And now they're eating and living off of the fruits of their labor. So guys, You guys know how we do at Uprise Real Estate Partners. You guys know where we are. We thank you so much for watching this channel. If you love this interview and you're watching on YouTube, please feel free, hit the like, share this as well. Hit the notification button as well so you know upcoming videos that we have, and subscribe to this channel. If you're watching on Facebook, hit this, like it, share it. This is the time. This is the kind of news. This is the kind of wisdom and information that people need to be watching and listening to now. And guys, you know, at Uprise, we're not just gonna tell you the good. Right? We're going to tell you the good, we're going to tell you the bad and the ugly. And so understand when I say that this is not just a piece of content, right? We are about transformation. And when I say this, I hope everything, you've heard me say time and time again, I hope everything is better. I hope everything goes back to the next prosperous 10 years. But guys, even in these recent 10 years, 78% of people were still living paycheck to paycheck, and 70% of people still didn't even have $1,000 in their checking account. In one of the most prosperous decades our country has seen. Okay. And what I'm here to tell you is I do not believe, my mentors do not believe that the economics of us having some hard times is not over here in America. So make sure you do what you need to do to take care of you, and take care of your family. Hope this helps, guys. We love you, and we'll talk to you soon.